Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Untapped Podcast. My name is Jacob Gabel.
And my name is Jacob Wurtz. Guys, welcome to episode 145 of the Untapped Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, first of all, thank you. We're thrilled to have you here with us. We've actually got 5 main formats of our show. So first, we have 1442 episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the mental side of our brand. In these ones, we go over our anecdotal experiences with things like mindset and mentality. We then pass on tips and advice to you guys to then apply to your own lives. Next, we have physical vitality episodes. Now, in these episodes, we cover the physical side of our brand. In these ones, we get to showcase our expertise because you have 2 certified personal trainers, which is exactly why you should sign up for Untapped Training. Guys, if you have any questions about Untapped Training, what packages we offer, what we can do for you, please reach out to us with any questions. We are more than willing to help answer those and then to help you get better and get results. We also cover supplements, everything to do with the gym, fitness, nutrition. We'll give general advice on those. Sometimes we will take trending articles or topics within the fitness industry and give our thoughts and opinions on those. Guys, those episodes are full of free game, so make sure you pay attention to those.
Can't wait to help people in the new year, dude.
That's what I'm saying,
seriously,
man.
We're going to keep going at this. I mean, it's exciting, guys. Untapped Training, again, we talked about it on our stories, on our socials too. Reach out to us. They're very easy to connect with us on Untapped, on our individual socials, and we'll go from there. Now, on to our third format. That is our breaking news format. That is a current event-based format. So we touch on current events and current articles going on in the world. U.S. election was recently, so that's a good example of topics we would touch on and have touched on as well. But again, keep in mind there is a lot of current event content out there that tends to become it bogs you down, is a good way to look at it. We are not here to do that. We are here to provide solutions on those episodes and provide direction and maybe awareness to certain topics you might know about or not know about too. Now, on to our fourth format. That is our Knights Table format. The Knights Table format is a masculinity-based format. We talk about things like toxic masculinity, if it's real, what it is, fatherhood, the impact it's had on our lives, and then also just male topics and how important men are to the world and the function of society going forward. Now, keep in mind, I'm 26, Wurtz is 26. Our producer, Mitch, is 24. Because of that, we are not coming to you as some all put together perfect man. We will never be that. The only man to ever reach the peak of the mountain and be perfect across the board is Jesus Christ, in human form, of course. Now, on to our fifth format. That is our guest format. The guest format is when we sit down with an entrepreneur, fitness professional, athlete, doctor, anybody that brings you value. We're going to come on. We're going to learn a lot from those episodes. Naturally, you guys will also learn a lot from those episodes. Episode 143 with Brock Wilson has done really well, especially on YouTube, by the way. If you guys want to go check out our last guest episode. Now, our last thing to introduce is our producer and my brother, Mitch Gabel.
Hey there.
He dare. Not my favorite.
No, definitely not in my top 5 by any means.
Yeah.
From him there.
You want another go at it?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of YouTube, big announcement for us on YouTube.
Yes. Oh, yeah, good call.
We now have basically a separate channel for Untapped Podcast Clips. Is that what you named it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, guys, what we're doing with this alternate secondary channel, whatever you want to call it, is posting like 2 to 5 minute clips from the podcast. So, easy to digest, shorter clips shorter versions of the full podcast, longer than what we post on Instagram and TikTok. But it'll be just different parts of the full length episode kind of cut up a little bit. So we're very excited to try this out.
That one. Good call. Yeah. And again, like the whole idea behind something like that is just making things more digestible because a lot of times those would just be the highlights.
Right.
So if somebody really only has time that week to watch the highlights, Untapped Podcast Clips on YouTube is where you go.
Yeah.
And we'll make it super simple, super straightforward for you there.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. So go subscribe to that. And if you're not subscribed to Untapped already, what are you doing? I mean, literally, what are you doing?
It's a great question.
Like, do it right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
No, literally right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pull off this video and subscribe.
Yeah. No, but for real, do it.
We're so smooth at that. Can you tell we're seasoned YouTubers?
Just
dude?
like the first form call out we had a few episodes back. Sponsors.
Yeah, it's like okay. It's like really, guys. I'm sure they watched that and were like, what in the
It's like,
world?
man, these guys suck.
And write them off.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a line through. Not actually. So, we have a breaking news for you guys today.
Exciting.
Tonight. Maybe you're listening at night.
Could be
Who
any time
knows?
of the day.
Today, tonight,
Hypothetically.
whatever.
Killing me. Killing me right now. Oh, man.
All about how you are not a rebel. What does that mean, Mr. Gabel?
You were on a roll with delivery right now. It's
Hey,
like
man.
it's like JT delivery right
It's just
now.
what I do.
Which, by the way, we haven't shouted him out at all. Like, made fun of him or anything like that in the last, like, I don't know how many episodes.
I was starting to feel a little bad
Yeah. I know.
because he kept sending me videos of himself crying. And, you know, you hate to make an old man cry. That's all. You know?
Oh, man, dude. Well, into the topic here. Not to spend the whole episode with JT, of course, but into the topic here. So you are not a rebel. The idea where we came up with this and just kind of were brainstorming about this before the podcast as well is this actually could apply to two things. One, there's a lot of people, particularly the far left, that we see in the breaking news, current events cycle of things in the U.S. especially.
They make it really easy to talk about them.
Really easy to talk about them because they do the craziest, most insane shit ever. But that side likes to call themselves the rebellion or the resistance, and that's the wording they use for it, which is very interesting. Because maybe when it was like Woodstock, that was the case. You were like the counterculture when you were doing LSD and whatnot and frying your brain with, synthetic drugs and whatnot.
Escaping Vietnam and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sure, maybe that's being counterculture. I don't know. But
yeah, could be.
But nowadays, like, that's a very common thing that the far left, especially far left, because I don't really see any like classical liberals calling themselves resistance. That's just would be an illogical thing to say, and they're not that way. So, but there also could apply to people that call themselves a rebel and they just live a loser lifestyle too. So funny enough, it could apply to that. We won't really focus on that today, but I just wanted to make that little caveat there of where we're going is mainly the political side of things today.
Sure. And there's probably some of that on the far right too, for being honest.
Oh, sure.
It's just not as obvious, or at least I don't see it personally.
Yeah.
But you got to imagine if there's something crazy on the far left, there's probably something equally crazy on the far right.
The majority of what we see too on the far right, the problem with that is that you a lot of the time see the far right is just most people are called that are just either Republican leaning or have patriotic beliefs.
Correct.
Have like, I'm talking constitutional based beliefs back from 1776.
Right.
That's not really far right. That's just what our country was founded upon.
Exactly.
And a lot of times it gets pushed that way and it's said it's far right or whatever. But anyways, on to the rebel aspect of the far left. What some of you are probably like, what are you talking about? When do they call themselves rebellion or resistance? This is a very common thing in current society is that they tend to label themselves as this, you are going against the man, you're fighting the system, etc. The problem with this is what we're going to point out today is the far left is essentially covered by the academia, the media, and academia could include anything from higher institutions to even down to now elementary schools, because most of their ideas have been pushed into those public type schools. Media, Hollywood. So all the leading forms of propaganda, essentially, or
even
consumption.
Pharma include that.
Is another one that's included in that for sure. And again, government too, because as we've talked about before, conservatives haven't conserved shit for the last 50 plus years.
Not at all.
So there's been no conserving. We've been going far left for the last 60 years and also been getting worse because of that for the last 60 years. But that's neither here nor there. So the problem with calling yourselves rebellion or resistance when you are literally fighting with the man and every corporation paints your slogans on them when the month comes up, like in June with Pride Month and whatnot, you're not a part of resistance. You're not a scary person when you talk about like that. A lot of the times resistance comes with this, you think of like Star Wars, for example. Sure. The resistance is this strong force that was able to resist against the mighty empire.
Right.
Okay, that's a resistance.
Right. The Hunger Games with the districts. It's the same idea.
Great example.
Yeah.
but it's a at some degree, it's a strong military force.
Sure. I'm not so sure that that's what they are.
I think about probably 3 people, because we don't know what gender they are half the time, but
Sure.
probably 3 people.
3
on,
days.
3
Is that
days.
safe? Maybe
It's probably safe. Yeah. But three people on the far left. I would imagine that maybe 3 of them are physically ready for some type of warfare.
3.
Maybe 3.
That's not very good.
And we're talking like you're actually physically training, like in the gym or whatnot, and maybe you have a hold on firearms, which I'm pretty sure like they're all terrified of firearms and
Right.
they're like they blow up in their hand if they hold one or something like that. So I don't really think that constitutes rebellion. Is my point. I don't know. What do you think here?
No. I completely agree.
Like-
And the biggest thing is too, like, these types of people are the least physically and mentally fit people of our society.
Mhm.
You know, you just mentioned some of the physical traits that the majority of them are out of shape,
Low
whether
testosterone.
low testosterone, you know, whether that's overweight or underweight, they're just out of shape. So any kind of physical challenge, I'm not even talking about combat necessarily, but just
course
physical challenge, they're incapable of that.
Mhm.
Okay. So in an actual resistance situation, they would never last. They wouldn't do anything productive. Mentally, you try to talk to these people and immediately it's an emotional argument instead of a logical conversation.
Mhm.
That's the biggest thing. We've even been a part of conversations like that. We're sitting there just trying to have a logical conversation with someone with differing viewpoints, which we're not scared to do.
Mhm.
Not that we're coming at them all high and mighty or anything like that. It's just like, let's talk. Let's talk. And as we've also said many times here, a lot of times there's a lot of overlap in areas
Mhm.
where there are very similar beliefs and ideas on many different things, you know? But some of these people are not so much like that. It immediately gets turned into this yelling match from one side, usually, quite honestly. But a yelling match, an argument, unproductive. And it's like, I'm not even going to engage in this anymore because you're either talking over me, you're not listening to me, you're repeating yourself, whatever it is. It's just like you're going in a circle, you're refusing to listen to me, you're refusing to even hear me.
Mhm.
I'm not raising my voice at you. I'm keeping my cool, you know, because there's no reason. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we getting all emotional about this? You know, it might be an emotional topic, sure. It might be emotionally charged or whatever. However, the conversation that we're having right now does not have to be that way because it's not productive for you. It's not productive for me. If you're trying to change my mind, you're pushing me further away. And if I was doing that to you, I'd be pushing you further away. Be like, these people are crazy. I'm not listening to them. You know, so that's kind of my thing too. It's just like they're the most unfit people of society, whichever way you look at it.
Unfit for literally every type of thing.
Exactly.
Because, you know, they have a hard day at work and they are mentally crushed for 3 days.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they call in for the next 2 days because they're taking a mental health break.
Right.
Because they have zero mental fortitude at all.
Well, and like, let's take another breaking news topic. The LA fires going on right now, which are insane. You know, all these things that Governor Newsom and the LA mayor, I can't remember her name, the LA fire chief, who both of those are women, and both of those were literally said to be DEI hires, by the way. And then everyone that the fire chief hired was also said to be DEI hires. Look at what's happening in LA right now. One of the most iconic cities in the whole United States. It's on fire. And as of right now, we're recording this on Thursday, the 9th. As of right now, there is literally 0% containment. It's because it's pure incompetence. And there's plenty of other things that led up to this, like Newsom, you know, sending all the water back into the Pacific Ocean. There's no water in the fire hydrants, nothing like that. Previously, they have sent supplies to Ukraine. I'm sure that's doing a lot of good over there.
Oh, sure.
But it's just like, look at what happens with these people. When you actually have a catastrophe, and there's plenty of, you know, theories around the fires and stuff going on, but let's just say it is just a wildfire that happened. Look at what their incompetence has caused. You know?
It's pure lack of leadership. It's lack of any like mental steel at all.
Exactly.
Or awareness. And if it's not, let's just, I'm actually hoping it's stupidity. I'm hoping
Right.
it's incompetence.
Right.
Because if
Not
it's
planned.
If it's purposeful,
Exactly.
we have a whole other issue on our
Exactly.
hands,
It's straight
you know?
evil.
It's
And we can go
straight
into
up evil.
way more rabbit
Because
holes with
think about
that.
how much damage those fires are causing.
Exactly.
Right now. It's the same thing as the Maui wildfires.
Exactly.
All the questionable stuff
Right.
around that as well.
Same thing with
Helene.
yeah, right.
Yep. And then over in Florida.
Asheville?
Asheville. What was in Florida? What was the one called there?
Isaac, maybe?
I don't think so. But anyways, like, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. There was that hurricane in Florida also occurred, etc. And so you see all these devastation and the devastation that's caused by natural disasters like this, and then it's made worse by the incompetence in LA in this scenario.
Exactly.
And again, California is known to be dry.
Sure.
So you would think measures would be put into place to be prepared for something like that.
What a concept.
Yeah. And that's the whole concept of this in general, where it's like, it's an incompetent side.
Right.
At minimum, it's incompetent. Again,
Sure.
are there purposeful aspects? From what we've seen, probably to a certain degree,
Yeah.
yes. But, when you are hiring people based off of just like some diversity box they check, you're going to get the worst of the worst
100%.
every single time.
Absolutely.
You're going to get the call-ins. You're going to get the mental health days. You're going to get the checklist not completed. It's going to be half completed and whatnot that was supposed to be done in the fire station or by the fire staff or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. You could go down the list. So again, that's not rebellion. That's just literal retardation.
Yeah.
Like full blown. And there's not really like a nicer word for that, because like it's full blown essentially
stupidity.
Like stupidity.
Right.
Genuinely.
Right.
Like that's not what you should be 100% prepared for that in the LA fire situation. And then also, if you're going to claim that you're a rebel, in the case of just the far left in general and whatnot, you probably should be holding the role of what a rebel would look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Physically, mentally, and just in your daily actions.
Right.
Rebelling is doing what 99.9% of the population is not doing.
Correct.
That's rebellion.
Correct.
Because you think about rebellion. So over 75% of the country is overweight. Over 88% of the country is metabolically unhealthy. So we keep going on. So that being against that is rebellion, for example.
Basically what RFK has talked about.
Exactly.
That's rebellious.
100%.
Because it's going against almost every system as far as the health side of things go, going against every system that has existed for who knows how long. Could be as long as this country has been around. Probably not quite that long. But more recent history within the last 40, 50, 60 years, like that's going against everything, which is why all these people are coming out against RFK, including Democrats, by the way. It's like, you idiots. He's literally from your side.
I was going to say, yeah. Almost every other point they probably agree on.
You're right.
And now, again, all of a sudden, the weird thing about that is, like, again, they think of themselves as a rebellion. RFK's viewpoints would be considered more of the rebellion side of things and whatnot. And we saw plenty of, I will say, you and I, like, we saw plenty of, like, the conservative side all of a sudden jump onto RFK's health points and whatnot. And it's like, you guys weren't talking about that before RFK came around.
Exactly.
Like, you guys didn't know anything about that.
Right.
So don't pretend like you know that he's going to solve everything.
Right.
Because they might not even give him any power.
Right.
Either.
And now it's like, listen, if you come out and be like, I didn't know anything about this situation, and now that, RFK has started talking about this, like, I fully back him. Okay, that's fine.
Great.
Yeah.
Clear.
Wonderful.
That makes your stance extremely clear
And-
at that point in time.
And then, if you truly believe that, make his job easier.
Yep.
Yeah. Allow him to get stuff done.
Well, and then again, the far left jumps on him too. They jump on a guy that is genuinely against pharma corporations.
Yeah.
Against food corporations. All big companies that, again, the left loves to talk about healthcare and how it should just be universalized and whatnot. And it's like, but then you go against a guy like RFK who's against those corporations that you don't like. And we hate as well on this podcast, by the way, because we're not labeling ourselves conservative, because our politics are much more fluid than that.
Well, conservative, yes, but maybe Republican, no.
Exactly.
Right.
100%. So that's the problem, is like you label yourself rebellious and then your actions prove otherwise.
Correct.
That's what the issue we're dealing with here at hand is.
Well, and like, on the RFK thing here, staying there for a second, the only reason they're doing that, the literal only reason they're doing that, is because he has supported Trump. That's it.
That's it.
It's anything that they can do to be against Trump, they will do that. Even if it means not supporting their own, whether it's Tulsi or a former big open Democrat like Elon, who is not now.
Well,
Not exactly sure what's going on with Elon, quite honestly. But
that's a whole nother conversation.
But still, that point does still stand, you know. And then you're also going against one of the most iconic Democrat families in the history of this country with RFK.
Yep.
So it's like, what are we doing here?
Right. And the thing is, too, is like that's been the conversation. I think a lot of the times where the Democrat and Republican parties, the interesting discourse there is that Democrats all seem to stay on the same page, which is not a good thing because they don't question any of like the people in power. They don't question, you know, for example, why does Pelosi have $80 million? It's like, no, like, shut up. Like, her portfolio doesn't matter.
Right.
Just focus on the fact that she's a Democrat.
Right.
And so they gang together is what it is. So it's, again, another point to why they're not a rebellion either, because they are on the same page. But with the conservative Republican side, you know, there was that discourse with RFK against the Democrats, against Republicans, whatever it is. You know, RFK and Trump do not agree on most things, probably.
Sure.
I would, looking at RFK's policies compared to Trump's, they would differ a lot. So that's an interesting discourse. That's also a good thing.
I was going to say that's not a bad thing.
That's how it should be. Is there should be fluid politics on the leading party and or whatever it is, the party in power or in general the system of power that's in. It should have multiple different viewpoints, so each angle is challenged.
Correct.
It shouldn't have just one, you know, what do you call it, masthead that just pushes forward.
Right.
And that's the only thing you see. Like the Democrat Party tended to be these last 8 to probably 15 plus years or whatever it was past Obama, and then that was the Elon and Vivek discourse that happened too. Everybody's like, no, they're like Patrick Bet-David said this. It was a stupid ass tweet. He was like, no, they're just trying to divide us. Like, we're not supposed to be attacking each other. It's like, Patrick, this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to question Elon and Vivek in this scenario on why they're basically supporting the side of the corporations only in this scenario. We didn't vote for that.
Right.
We definitely didn't vote for more mass immigration just legally. That's also not what we voted for. So you have to like ask yourself, that's what you're supposed to be in power. That's rebellion to a certain degree, is not just following every single viewpoint the Republicans have and not just following every viewpoint the Democrats have. You should have your own formed beliefs. That's rebellious.
Correct. In today's world, that's rebellious. Even though that sounds very logical, because it is.
It is very logical. Yeah,
you know,
100%.
I don't know. I had a thought, but it just kind of escaped me. But the fact that people aren't curious, too. You know, actually, right before we started recording, we were just talking about Joe Rogan for a second, and just, you know, we were talking about religion and stuff and whatnot. And what makes Rogan so great and his podcast so great is he is just curious about so many different things, you know, and he's not afraid to question. It doesn't matter who it is. It literally doesn't matter who it is. He questions everyone. He questioned Trump when Trump was on. He questioned Elon.
Yep.
He questioned Vance. He questioned the CNN doctor. I can't remember the name. Gupta or whatever. Yep. Yeah. Gupta idiot or something. Yeah. But
I knew you were going to make some funny comment there. I was just like expecting it.
You know, he questioned David Goggins when he's had him on. He's questioned Huberman when he had him. Like, he questions people, and not in a demeaning or aggressive
like derogatory
way.
Or attacking or anything like that.
It's genuinely out of curiosity. You know, he questions the MMA fighters he's had on. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The point has been made.
He would have questioned Kamala. Same thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And quite honestly, that's what she was scared of. Or her people, at least, were scared of that.
Right.
You know?
They literally could have just picked a candidate who was like a good speaker.
That's what I'm saying.
At least.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Obama
that could do interviews.
Yeah, Obama was
a piece of shit, but he's a great speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We are not suicidal. We'll just put that out there. Yeah.
Same with the Clintons. Like, we're not suicidal at all. Yeah.
But anyway, you know, people don't do that. You know, normal people like us who are on the ground level, essentially, you know, and that's why you and I were trying to get off the ground level, you know, and we're building our way to that, which again is also considered rebellious, to not have a 4-year degree in today's world, to not go through all of that college and go into the academia, like you mentioned earlier. You know, that's considered rebellious. We just have different ideas, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yet we get looked down upon.
Yep.
You know,
same with trade jobs.
100% with trade jobs. Absolutely.
That's almost rebellious in a certain way.
It could be
to a certain degree, because you get this idea of like, it's an outside the norm career.
Right.
Oh, that guy went right into trade school and,
he's a plumber.
and did 6 months and then is now a plumber all of a sudden
Right.
already? He's
Well,
a welder or
Who are you going to call when your toilet breaks?
yeah. And not to mention, buddy's probably raking it in at 20 years old.
Yeah,
already
exactly.
As a welder. Because one of our
100%.
friends from high school, you'll know what I'm talking about after, but one of our friends from high school is a travel welder.
Yeah.
Does quite well.
We actually have a few guys that we went to high school that are that.
True. Yeah.
And they're doing extremely well.
100%.
You know, and that used to be a very popular way to go.
It was actually a very respectable masculine career for that matter.
Absolutely.
And it still is, at least to us.
100%.
But that's
100%.
not the point.
Right, but the point is like that's considered rebellious.
Mm-hmm.
So even to be rebellious is not doing anything insane. It's not creating a literal militia like in Star Wars or Hunger Games, like we mentioned. You know, it doesn't have to be a freaking battle. You know, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. Quite honestly,
I would prefer to avoid that.
yeah, exactly. And January 6th was not a rebellion. You know, we can just say that right now. Okay,
Or what do they call it?
insurrection. Yeah. Ooh.
A big word.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah. It's so funny that you love to use vocab a lot of times whenever they describe stuff like that. And
Because,
it's like, okay.
well, I mean, they're way smarter than us.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Of course.
Yeah, obviously.
But then you look at the definition of insurrection, it doesn't fit that at all. The Capitol Police really letting them in the building.
well, it's just like how, you know, like doctors or dentists or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they inherently know more than us about fitness because they're doctors.
Now that's a sore subject for us right there. Oh man.
If you know, you know.
Yo, big time. Yeah, that's a niche one right there. But what was it called? So Andy puts this best with the January 6th stuff too, and we're talking about rebellion. He's like, we'll show you what an actual insurrection looks like.
Mm.
That's not what, if we're talking the right wing or whatever, if they actually had a rebellion or a insurrection or some kind of revolution, it wouldn't look like what January 6th
No,
looked
he
like.
literally says like there will be guns.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Like there will be
Like,
violence.
You know we are the, as you love to, label us on the left loves to label the conservatives, the gun-toting side and whatnot.
Sure.
It's like, okay, that's obviously
Thanks.
like, which also, yeah, thank you, because
Wow.
it just means I can handle myself around a big boom, and that's it.
Boom, boom, stick.
Yeah. And then you see a reporter from the Democrat side shooting a rifle. Remember that one time? And he was like, oh,
Yes.
like this. And it's like,
No, I don't think it was a reporter. Wasn't that a governor of a state?
maybe.
Like that was like
probably
around
another video
COVID
like that
times,
too.
right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a pussy. just soft. But
He goes, it hurt my shoulder. Like, it's an AR. It didn't hurt your shoulder,
it didn't
buddy.
hurt your shoulder, bro.
Yeah.
ARs kick like 22s do.
Yeah, no, literally.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And
it's
22s,
butter.
you don't even have to wear headphones to shoot them. Like literally. Yeah.
Like that's what
sounds like
it
sounds like a paintball gun.
Yeah, exactly. But rebellion with that too is like, it's even like an example like that where you cannot handle yourself in a physical situation or firearms. We've talked about that before too, where it's like, if you literally step up and your shoulder's basically blown off from an AR, you're also not a rebel.
Correct.
Because you have not addressed any of the physical things you lack.
Mm-hmm.
Any of the physical, I was going to say disabilities, but that word doesn't make sense there. But any of the physical discrepancies, et cetera, like all the things that you lack in that area, you haven't addressed any of those.
Correct.
Because that goes back to the health aspect with RFK too, and the you're not a rebel, et cetera. Because obviously this is a very broad topic, but it covers so many different facets. Because being a rebel would be being able to handle yourself in a martial situation,
Mhm.
of course. Now, again, we talked about combat is just like a very unlikely situation of that. But you should still be able to do that.
Right.
Health is another one. Most people are unhealthy. They don't take care of their diet. They don't exercise. That is just factual. That's
Right.
data that is proven now.
Yeah.
Most people are also not a good father or not a good mother. That's another good example as well. You being a traditional mother and father in a household is also rebellion as well.
Which it shouldn't be. Like, let's just say that.
Exactly.
You know?
Which
And-
it wasn't at the start of the
correct.
country too.
Correct.
In 1776, that was rebellion against
Yes.
a government that was essentially
Tyrannical.
attempting to encroach on our rights.
Right.
And again, like, respect to the British Empire, because they were a badass empire for sure. And you look back in history, it's an impressive feat to achieve that type of stuff. But when you start to encroach on people who are your own citizens, which in this case, obviously we came over, most of us in this case, from Britain. We obviously had some immigrants at that point in time from like Ireland, et cetera, all that type of Germany. But the point remains is like that was a government oppressing its citizens, and then we rebelled and said no.
Right.
And again, as I've talked about before, but Mitchell and I's ancestors were here by that point in time. So there's also a lot of pride in that for Mitch and I, especially, which is also why I recommend if you can trace your family tree, do it, because it does come with a lot of pride in that way too.
Just don't use what is it, 23andMe? Is
that the one that was bought by BlackRock?
Could be. But they were like selling DNA and stuff.
Yeah. I think that's the one.
It's like awesome. Yeah. That's really cool.
I'm not even partially surprised.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Just like, why?
I also want to transition to another point too, for those of you that do listen to the podcast and are considered what would be rebels by today's standards. You have to keep in mind that whenever you're speaking your opinions on current event topics and just in general daily happenings in our world now, that the side that is fighting against you or like disagreeing with you on social media, because that's scary. They're going to cancel us. They're going to disagree with us on social media and whatnot. That side is, as we've described at the start of this episode, extremely weak, extremely physically inept. So if that's the case, then it should make sense that this is not or you don't treat that side with this, not about the same amount of respect, but them telling you not to say your viewpoints is something you shouldn't listen to.
Should or shouldn't?
Shouldn't listen to.
Correct.
Like, very clearly.
Right.
This is a side that they don't hold any power either because of how physically inept they are, that side, and how just in general mentally and physically weak they are. So those of you that are the rebels, be a rebel. Don't be afraid to do it. Go on social media, talk about your opinions. Have conversations. Don't be a dickhead about it.
Right.
That doesn't solve any problems for any of us.
Correct.
As we talked about in our conversations we've had, we're very direct and logical, and we want to hear their opinions. That's the way to do it. But don't be afraid just because you say, I voted for Trump. That good old cousin over the way or whatever, like cousin Johnny is going to be like, oh my gosh, like you're a piece of shit for doing that. It's like, okay, yeah, Johnny, sure I am. That's how you respond in that scenario. Because you are the rebel in this scenario. You're the one speaking out against this. You're the one taking care of your health. You're the one doing things outside the norm. You're the one chasing goals and careers and family aspirations higher than anybody else is.
And honestly, on that point, after this election, you're not.
Right.
You're actually in the majority.
Very, very clearly, at least.
Yeah. It doesn't always feel that way because they're louder than what our side is, which is probably a good thing for them. It's a bad thing on us because, like you just said, like people should not be afraid to say what they want to say what they believe, say what their opinions are. That's not a good thing to hold that in, which is exactly what you're saying. Mm-hmm. But also, like, you are very clearly not in the minority. That was made very clear in this election.
Yes.
And this election was a lot more than just Trump versus Kamala.
100%.
A lot more than that.
As we've seen after the election as well.
Correct.
With, like we talked about the Elon and Vivek situation and the RFK situation, there's a lot more avenues to this election than just Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's also, and we've said this time and time again, but all these people that Trump is wanting to bring in, it's on us as the citizens and as that majority to hold them accountable to do what they say that they are going to do.
Correct.
It can't just be, we can't just let Elon and Vivek run wild because
Absolutely
it may not be what we voted for, like we already just mentioned, a few minutes ago. Because some of the stuff that they have said or tweeted or whatever since the election happened, it's kind of like, hold on a second. Mm-hmm. That's not what we're looking for from Doge or whatever. We want Doge to get rid of these huge bureaucracies.
We want you to abolish the IRS and the FBI and all of it. Yeah.
Right. Abolish it, or at a minimum, make it competent.
100%.
Yeah.
Size it down for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. That's probably the biggest thing. Because there is still a world that the FBI is useful. There is still a world where the CIA can be useful, but you have to have good people in those agencies.
It has to be a complete rehaul.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. you know, and so all of these people, RFK still, the stuff he says sounds great. It sounds great, but will he do it? Hopefully.
Exactly.
You know? So it's the biggest thing. It's holding these people accountable, including Trump, obviously, himself. But I think at the end of the day, at least the final thing I have to say is when these people create arguments with you and challenge you physically, mentally, whatever, don't back down. They're not scary. These people are not scary. They can't actually do anything to you. Like, they literally can't. They're not physically capable.
Yeah, right.
They're not mentally capable of doing anything to you. They're just not. They're just not. They happen to be loud, and that's fine. That's their best tool that they have is they're loud. You know, and they make the headlines and all this stuff. And yes, it can be scary because you might make the headlines because you went against a DEI person, you know, or whatever. I don't even know because I just don't do that. I'm just not with that.
Yeah.
Like the DEI stuff is just mind blowing to me.
It's the DEI stuff is a good example of how far our Western world has fallen.
Yeah,
it's a perfect example of us putting idiotic social statutes, I guess would be the best word for it, above competence.
Competence, and then what's the other word?
You mean
like getting something because you do deserve it.
Meritocracy.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why did we move away from that? I mean, we do know why. There's an agenda there.
We know why. Yeah.
And it was, like you said, conservatives haven't conserved anything, and that's a perfect example. That never, the LA fire situation, just go back to that, probably would not be how it is right now had different people been in the positions of the people we mentioned.
If the boomers wouldn't have been so soft. But that's, sorry. Not to throw that in there. My tick.
Right.
You know, of course. But probably my ending thing is, it's one of those things where I think it's extremely important for us that are in that 75 million, whatever the number ended up being for Trump that voted.
It was at least one. Yeah. Well, I guess maybe at least three.
I didn't know Dave Wurtz was on the podcast with us.
Well, I just,
That's
I mean,
interesting.
am I wrong?
At least one. Oh, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
By all technicalities.
Well, and we could bump it up to three.
Okay.
I mean, I know we do have a resident Democrat with us here tonight, but
resident liberal. But I want to say what was I saying there? I don't even remember.
well, you're talking about the total count for Trump.
Yes. So for those of us in that, whatever it was, 72 to 75 million people that voted for Trump, because one, on the viewpoint there of what the citizens want is obviously more on the side of Trump. Now, that 72 to 75 million needs to become that rebel. They need to get healthy because we know not all that population is. You and I know plenty of conservatives who are not healthy.
They love their natty light.
Oh my gosh. They just crush it like it's water. But you have to be actually a rebel. You can't just, as we've talked about before, it isn't just about voting. That's not rebelling.
That's step one.
You voting for Trump is not rebellion. I'm sorry to break that news to you. Now, you taking care of your health, you getting your career in order, and your finances in order, you taking care of your family,
training firearms,
training martial arts, that's rebellion. That's what that entire side, and hopefully the whole country, if we really got it, because the whole country would be conservative if they covered all the things we just mentioned. But the whole country would be the goal. But that side at minimum, if you're going to call yourself a rebel and I voted for Trump, you need to live that. You need to hold Trump accountable. You need to hold Elon and Vivek accountable. You need to hold his entire cabinet and his entire bureaucracy accountable.
Vance, all of it.
All of it. It doesn't matter. Every one of them. We don't care about the sound bites. We care about your action. When you get in January 20th, we want action. We don't want sound bites.
Right.
That's rebellion. That's turning this country around the right direction. So, yeah.
Mitch, you got anything to add to all this? No, nothing? He's nose deep in a book over there or something.
Big 75 hard guy.
Apparently it's more interesting than us. That's awkward. All right. So, guys, at the end of all of our non-guest episodes, Money Mitch will ask us, wait. Is it, it's back to Money Mitch. It's not Mustache Mitch anymore.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. Mustache Gabel.
Good call. Mustache Gabel. Big Gabel.
Money Mitch will ask us a Q&A question that's submitted by you guys, the listeners or the viewers. We have a few different ways that we would like you to submit these questions. Number one, you can email them to us. Our email is extricationfitness@gmail.com. Hold on. That's not number one. What am I doing? Way out of order here. Number one, actually, is DM them to us on Instagram.
Yeah, true.
At untapped.llp, because that's the easiest and quickest way we will see them. At untapped.llp, or you can DM them to us individually. You can also text them to us individually if you have our numbers. Then you can email them to us. Our email is extricationfitness@gmail.com. It's a mouthful. I know it's hard to spell extrication. I still can't, but that's all right. We won't talk about that. There's an email button in our Instagram and Facebook bio, so just click that. It takes you right to it. It's very, very easy. Third and final way, you can leave them in the comments of our Instagram, TikTok, YouTube posts. You can leave them in the comments on any of those. We will see them. We will get to them. And all of the questions get sent to...
What in the world?
Wow.
He was tweaking over there. He's like standing up and like grabbing himself and stuff like that.
Wow.
Like, what in the world?
Please forgive Money Mitch for disrupting the podcast episode.
Gosh.
All of the questions. Trying to get through this. Stick with me, guys. All of them get sent to Money Mitch. He picks one out that either pertains to the topic of the episode. Sometimes it's just a general question, usually about fitness. I would say a lot of them are fitness related, supplement related, things like that. So please, we love those types of questions, honestly. And it doesn't have to be a physical vitality episode for us to answer those. Sometimes they're funny. We've had some really funny ones in the past. And then every once in a while, Money Mitch will actually come up with one himself. Let's take a breath. Money Mitch.
Did we take a breath?
That was beautiful breath work.
Yeah, you like that?
4x4.
Does it require you to accept the world, or do we reject the world here in order to be a rebel? Right? Can we say we're okay with some things? We're not okay with some things. What does that look like? Are we going to be accepting of others, or are we just doing an outright rejection of everything?
I mean, I would say the definition of a rebel or rebellion is rejecting everything. Hence why, in the stories, the Star Wars of the world, the Hunger Games of the world, and those are extreme examples, but they're also easy to visualize for people, which is why we keep bringing them up, because our world right now doesn't look like that, and hopefully never does. But
knock on wood.
Correct. But the definition of a rebel is being against whatever it is. Yep. So it's not that you're going to only take out a part of the people that are, oppressing you, or, it's not like in the Hunger Games, they only took out the soldiers that were fighting them. No, they went after the government. They went after the Capitol.
Yep.
And things like that. So I would say that, yes, it would require you to reject everything, and quite honestly, in all the points that we just mentioned throughout this, this last 45 minutes or so, in a way, it is rejecting everything. We're sitting here saying, get yourself healthy, to whereas they say, take our medicine. They say, believe in worldly things, whatever that is, fall into worldly things. We're saying, believe in Jesus Christ. That's rebellious.
There you go. There you go.
They're saying, rely on the government for your paycheck and pay us a lot of your paycheck throughout the year. We're saying, go get rich, make money, gain financial freedom, work towards that for you, for your family. Imagine the things you can do with that. It's not just be rich so you can have cool things. That's a part of it, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We have what's that called? Cars, houses, cool stuff.
You're talking about assets.
No, what's the word? Material. Thank you.
Material things,
material goals. We have those, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But imagine the good you can do being financially free. Again, for you, for your family, and for others. But they're saying, no, rely on us. We got you. We got your paycheck. As a matter of fact, you don't even have to work. We'll just pay you anyway. That's not good.
Yeah, UBI, little universal basic income there.
Well, that or just unemployment checks. It's very easy to claim unemployment.
Especially during COVID.
Exactly. And I'm not going to sit here and say, like, I didn't do that, because I was on that. Where I was working, they took care of that for us, which at the time was awesome by them. They did a lot of work for us that we didn't have to. But then as soon as we were able to get back to work, as a matter of fact, before we were actually able to work, I was working again. So I didn't just rely on that forever. Anyway, not the point here. So they're saying to do all these things. We're saying to do the opposite. You know, there's not really much that we're agreeing with the current society. Now, hopefully in 11 days and for the next 4 years after that, hopefully some of the stuff we're saying to do becomes the norm. And then you're not rebellious. But the country is flourishing. Families and people are flourishing. Businesses are flourishing. Individuals are flourishing. Like cities, states, all flourishing. Like, why is that such a bad thing to want? I don't understand that. And that's a whole nother, that could be a whole nother breaking news topic. But I would say that, yes, it is rejecting everything.
Yeah. I mean, my first thought was you were talking about believing in Jesus Christ. I mean, we're 3 Christians on this podcast. Jesus calls us to reject the world. So
and seek him, seek heaven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that pretty much answers the question is like by following Jesus and also seeking Jesus and the kingdom of heaven, that's rebellious.
Yeah.
That's full blown the perfect example of a rejection of the world.
Yeah.
Because and also all the things you mentioned fall into that category. Financial freedom, 100% is something Christians are called to do because we are called, men in particular in the Bible, are called to toil, to work. That is a big thing we're told to do. We're not told to sit at home and collect checks from the government.
Right.
We're productive members of society. We take care of our temple, our body. That's another factor as well. We take care and honor our wives in the case of us men. We honor our children and protect them and provide for them. That is also a biblical concept that would be considered rebellious nowadays.
Sure.
So all of these things fall under that umbrella because we are called to reject the world as Christians.
Right.
Which is also, Christianity is not only the one true religion, but it is also the perfect moral guideline to a good life. I guarantee you right now, an atheist follows all the guidelines of Christianity. Their life will be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Will they get into heaven? No. If they don't believe in Jesus Christ, of course, they will not. But the point remains is that if you're 85 years in this life, if you follow Christian guidelines at minimum, you will 100% live a perfect life.
Right.
And I say perfect, obviously.
Correct.
Not 100% perfect.
Right.
I shouldn't have to clarify that. But yeah.
We've said it multiple times, like the Bible is the ultimate self-help book.
Every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Every single day.
And the books by, other people, the David Goggins, the Joccos, the Andys, James Clear, whoever. Those books are all phenomenal. And there's great stuff in those. And we're not at all discrediting those. But the ultimate self-help book is the Bible. And like right now I'm going through it for the first time ever. Like I'm actually following different reading plans and stuff like that with that Bible we've talked about. And it's awesome. And there's so much greatness in there. There just is. And it's not all super easy to digest or comprehend at times. And that's probably just on me for that matter.
It's hard concepts though.
Absolutely. It can be, and that's why the specific one that we found, that's what makes it so great. And we've talked about it. But no, anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what I had. Because it is 100% a rejection of the world. As much as because the whole acceptance movement, I think, has gotten commandeered in a lot of ways. Acceptance could come down to something like accepting your mortality and the fact that you're not going to live forever, for example. Like that's acceptance. But accepting somebody because they think they're a man when they're a woman or vice versa.
Right.
Or whatnot. That's not acceptance.
Right.
That's lying to the person and not actually caring about them.
And it's confirming their lie.
It's confirming like a mental illness they have and
no, literally
along with it is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that is not accepting or loving at all.
No.
Nothing about that.
It's harmful. That's all it is. It's harmful.
Again, and you calling that out and saying that's wrong, that type of stuff, is rejecting the world.
Yeah.
Because you are going against what is majority, again, as we talked about, academia, media, Hollywood, all controlled by mainly the far left as a high majority. Now, a lot of independent media, that's seeming to shift a little bit.
Sure.
As we've seen. But
such as podcasts.
Oh, exactly. Such as this podcast. But
yeah,
we have a long way to go. But I think there should be a pretty clear pathway to the ones that look for it.
Correct.
The ones that want to look for it, that look to be a rebel, there is a clear pathway to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Final time. Sign up with Untapped Training.
Correct.
Yes. That's all there is to it.
Mitchell's using Untapped Training for
He is.
75 hard
He
round 2.
is.
It
He
just so
is.
happens.
Yeah, which is why he's 2 days in and already looking jacked.
Round 2. Round 3. Pretty sure.
I guess I meant to say day 2. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's technically what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
think
knew
it's
you were
round
on round
3.
3. Yeah, it's round
Yeah.
3. Yeah. 100%. But
Well,
yeah.
again, I mean, he's already filling out that shirt. He's on day 2.
I mean, yeah. Again, as we've talked about, Untapped Training is anabolic.
Correct.
So,
Even just
yeah.
having it.
Yeah, it's basically like going on TRT.
Yeah, no, basically. Like having our own custom Untapped app, by the way, just having it on your phone, you can actually see your muscles growing
Yes.
as you're just sitting there.
The peptides are airborne. They actually
Yeah,
release
right, you
from
breathe
the
them in.
phone.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
as
yes.
you open the app.
And
Yep.
and it's kind of cool how it works too. Whatever muscle you look at while your phone is open, like while the app is open, because again, it's a fully custom Untapped app. I don't know how many times I've said that already. But whichever muscle you look at, it actually just grows. Yeah.
So you could be like Popeye. One arm could be just massive.
Oh, you could. Yeah.
And then it goes
Then-
back down after you
yeah.
stop looking at it. But yeah. But
Well, we won't talk about that,
But if
though.
you stick with us for 3 months, then it's permanent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 3-month minimum there.
But 100% in 3-month minimum. That's hilarious.
There is actually no minimum on our training.
There is no
We're
minimum.
not sleazy like that.
Yeah, and we're not
Just
We're
FYI.
not scumbags. You can do
Yeah.
1 month and then cancel. Yeah,
Right.
100%.
But you shouldn't do that.
and you shouldn't do that if you want to get effective results. But
Correct.
the point is, Untapped Training does cover all those bases because we can do things like if somebody's on 75 hard, we can program around that. If somebody's training for a Murph and a marathon, like one of our clients is, we can program around that as well.
Correct.
So,
If someone is a youth baseball player, like another one of our clients is,
correct.
we can do that as well.
Yes.
So we have a very wide range. That also doesn't mean that we are unfocused in our training. We'll just cover everything because we want anyone to like. That's not what we're saying. Just between the two of us, like we have a very good basis of knowledge. Like we really do. We have a really good set of experience between the two of us, working with different types of clients, different types of people and groups and things like that. So, guys, for real, like give us a chance. That's all we're asking for. Give us a chance. All right. Share the show. Share the show to your stories, text around to your friends and family, all that good stuff, just like we normally say.
Picture of YouTube, etc.
Yes.
Boom.
Subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Give us
Yes.
likes, comments, all of it, guys. It helps us. It's free for you. We are not asking for any money, anything like that. The only thing we're asking you to buy is Untapped Training. But to help us grow the show here, cost you nothing.
Yep.
Cost you literally nothing.
To make you better, it costs a little bit.
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
I like that.
Mhm.
Guys, until next time, peace and love.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.